Hi everyone, I'm Bones, but what we're going to do is have a little bit of fun, and we're going to have a look at this library called Laters. It's something I've been building, and it's a .NET scheduling library. It allows for two main modes of working. One is fire and forget, and the other one is reoccurring. Fire and forget is where you want to take a job and run it as soon as possible, or delay it to a certain date time and run it in a different thread or process. Recurring is where you take a task job and you want to run it many times based on a cron pattern. That's about what it does. It's kind of cool. It's kind of simple to use. It has two also APIs with it, and we're going to look at the minimal API that it also it supports. If you want to know more about the other features it does, you can click on here and you can list on all the features. So that was just clicking on the what's laters. If you want to know a bit more about its architecture, you can click on the overview and it gives you a bit more about the concepts and stuff there. I want to have a look at the quick started with yourselves. I'm not going to go through this page. What I'm going to do is we're going to code this up. Bear with me, I am very bad at presenting, so it's all going to go wrong. I'm going to have some fun, but we're going to go ahead and get this well and have some, we're going to get this up and running. But the idea is we're going to take this beautiful bit of code, this example, and instead of using Martin, we're going to use Entity Framework. Cool. So if we go ahead and minimize, pop, and have a look at what we have here. So we have ourselves VS Code with a default project, and we have one line of code, residual, and let's have a look what else we have. We have nothing else. So all we have in here is a very simple empty project with a using statement. That's it. I can take the using statement out just so we're from scratch. Nice and easy. Right. Fine. .NET run. Oops. You can go ahead and see that all this does is it kicks off a simple API on this port number and it says hello world. That's it. That's what it does at the moment. We want to do a little bit more with that. We're going to go ahead and double check to see what sort of requests we want to do. We want to go ahead and list all the items. We want to go ahead and create an item, and then we want to modify an item and mark it as completed. Once it's been completed, we're going to schedule it up for being removed a minute after it's been marked as completed. That's it. So we're going to clean up the database. The database at the moment doesn't exist yet. So if I refresh here, we have no tables. Perfect. So we've got ourselves a very vanilla solution. Let's stop running this. So we have a Postgres database. So we have a minimal API running here. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and start writing some code and set up the entity framework parts of this. What we'll need as well to make this work is to add some packages. I'm going to add them all now before I forget. So we're going to add the Entity Framework Postgres package. We're going to add the Entity Framework Design package. We're also going to add the Laters package. And we're going to add the Laters Entity Framework Core package. And I forgot to mark this as the quick intro done. All right, so we're working on the Entity Framework parts now. We'll need to have ourselves the to-do item, which I've actually got here ready to copy paste. So that's the to-do item that we'd like to add. And you can see here, we can go ahead and import the data annotation for required. Nice. We can then go ahead and create ourselves the to-do item DbContext. And hopefully we can get that generated for us, which did happen. Perfect. So AI is helping us at the moment. I don't want to do anything else there. Nice. We now need to go ahead and pause for a second and understand that we got an interesting thing happening here. Before we add our DbContext for the to-do items, what we'd like to do is remember that there's a DbContext that this application is using, but there's also a DbContext that Laters has, and Laters will be saving job information into the same database as we're going to be saving our domain objects into. And it was going to do that so it can remain consistent and apply the same transaction between the two. In order to do that, we're going to have to add a connection object to the ISC container. And how we do that is basically something along the lines of this. Builder, let's go builder dot services add scoped, and it's a DB connection. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to give it a delegate. A lambda. All right, nice. All right, so it's given us some information that we can do, and this is saying we need to provide a result from this, which is fine. First things first is I'd like to provide the same sort of connection string, and we're just going to do this one, and we're going to say, oh, Yahweh AI. So we wanted to do Postgres connection string. All right. Now, if I do this, it'll give me a Postgres connection string, kind of. The password is super easy for my test DB. The username is application. The database is called laters, and the host is actually called Postgres. Postgres. All right. Now I just need to return a new connection, and we can get rid of that comment. All right. Now we have ourselves a connection that we should be able to share between both the DbContext. The next thing we need to do is go ahead and actually set up the to-do application DbContext. Let's see if it's actually done most of that. So if we double check what it has here, this is a bit weird. Let's go ahead and have a look and see if we can do something a little bit different. So first things first, I want to get the connection from the service provider. Oh, you're going to give it to me? It's thinking. It's not going to do it. All right, so I'm going to do var connection. Yeah, that's about right. Equals, and then I'm going to do, oh, that'll be why. Oops. Let's go ahead and add ourselves a bit more information. I need to not just have options, I want to have the provider. There, now we can do a little bit more. All right, so provider, and there we go. This is now setting up the options per scope. So this is scoped setup, and we're going to get the connection, and we're going to pass it into the database provider. So we're just going to go ahead and say connection, and that's it. That there is us setting up the to-do applications provider. Oh, sorry, DB connection. Right. Let's go ahead and start writing some endpoints. Because now we have a connection and a DbContext, we should be able to go ahead and start querying it for information. The way to do that is we can just go ahead and do this. I could have typed this out, but you can see here, which all we're doing is app.mapget, the to-do items, and we're passing in the database connection, and we just go ahead and listing out all the items. Now, in theory, this should be paged, but for now, this is just an example. It gives you an idea of a worked, so like a bit of working code, a bit of working solution. It's already trying to give us a map post. At the moment here is actually really close to what I've got ready to go ahead and post in ourselves. So what we want to do is map post, and I'm just confirming. Let's go ahead and take that code. So we can take the to-do item. We can say it's from body if we want to. And then this being injected in is normal. And then we're going to add the item. What we can also do is go ahead and say if the item.id, if it's null, then we're going to give it an ID. And I believe if we give it D, it's a bit more human readable. So we can, if we haven't got an ID being given, we can go ahead and give a default ID, which is a GUID string. I'm going to add that and we don't have to actually supply changes. So this save changes, I'm going to do slightly different, and that's fine. For this demo app, it's okay. For your production system, you may have multiple different ways of supplying this, but what I'd like to do is make sure that we do actually have a unit work applied between both the DB transactions. So for now, I'm going to use this as you would do any other sort of like this. It's just going to add the items to the list, and the rest will be done some sort of middleware and applied once. Perfect. All right, cool. We're going to have a look. What is this giving? It's giving us a put. Oh my god, you're kidding me, right? And it's taken in the item from the body, the ID. Yeah, that's fine. I don't mind that at all. The context, perfect. The only thing we haven't got is the schedule. Let's go ahead and see what this gives us. All right, so we got ourselves the title being updated, the details being updated, and completed being updated. This is good. I like this. All right, cool. So we've now just written the 3 main sort of like parts of the application. Nice. Well, AI wrote it for us, but I don't care. All right, this one here is saying that there's async, lax, and a wait operator. There is no wait in there, so you can go away. Go away. Perfect. What we need to do now is we can say that that's entity framework done for the moment. We're going to come back to it, but that's the main part done. Perfect. Let's go ahead and add laters to this. Oh, this is fun. I'm liking this. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go into the builder again. Then we're going to go into the web host. And we're going to configure laters. Right, and laters is going to go ahead and give us a delegate. And the delegate's going to give us the context. Oh, don't you dare give me something that I don't want. Context. There we go. And we're going to go in and we're going to have the setup. Nice. Oh. Then we're going to go and apply that like so. And are we missing anything? So this doesn't contain the definitions for laters. You do now. Perfect. So this is everything what we're going to need to go ahead and set up laters with. The first things first is we want to make sure that we set up the configuration.web endpoint, and we want to point to ourselves. And so basically the server and the client, the thing that's actually going to go ahead and work, the worker itself, is the application itself. So we're going to point to ourselves. The concept behind this is that the server and the worker can be in different nodes, and this will be the load balancer address you put in, and then the load balancer would then go and load balance between all the worker nodes. But at the moment, as we are the worker and the server, we're going to go ahead and type in the 5056, and we're just going to schedule work with ourselves. Perfect. The other thing also is we're going to go ahead and we're going to go and set up and use the storage of, oh wait, get back here, stop clicking about, entity. So it is use entity framework. We're going to import that. No, all right, it's found it. That's good. Good. So we're going to say use entity framework, and we're going to say we have EF, and we can then apply some extra things for EF to work. And it is being confused by just missing a semicolon. Now that should be a bit better. Perfect. This will allow us now to configure entity framework to work with the same database connection. So to make it use the same database connection, we just do EF, and then we can go ahead and say that the connection factory is equal to this. That's it. And now we're using the same database connection as the DbContext of the to-do items. The other thing what we need to do is let what's I'm looking for? We need to let laters know that we are using the Postgres provider. So in here we will pass in 3 values and options, OP options there, and that's a lambda. Let's open it up and we're going to close it, and then we're going to close it like so. All right, cool. And well, we're missing one more close. No. Got one too many closes. There we go. Perfect. There we go. Perfect. So in this bit here, we just need to go to the options and say use the connection. That's it. This is now set up later to use Entity Framework. So we said here, use Entity Framework. We want to use the same DB connection that has been supplied here and it's been passed into here. And we're going to go ahead and take this DB connection, which is then given here, and we're going to pass it into laters. That means now we are using all the same bits and bobs, and from an IC perspective, laters is ready to work. But as we are also going to be processing the jobs and actually being the worker as well, we're going to come to this side of the fence and go and set up laters from here. So we're going to have to do app.use laters, and then we can go and do that. This will then add the middleware for laters to be the processor of the work. The thing we're missing in this example is making sure that all the ASP.NET functions are using the same transaction as the as laters, because we want to also make sure that laters is processing and deleting and adding items in this one here. So let's go ahead and do that. Oh, I skipped the gun. No, we'll continue. We can definitely shuffle things around if need be. So what we'd like to do is we want to go and share the middleware, so the transaction between the two. So we have ourselves a public class, not a to-do item, public class transaction middleware. That'll do. All right, cool. So we have ourselves this class. Let's see what it's given us already. This is interesting. So we haven't done any work yet. In this transaction class middleware, it's realized that we're doing ASP.NET middleware, which is fabulous. This is the right thing here. It's written most of what we want from the DbContext. So it's got the to-do DbContext, and it's doing the next, and it's not quite there, but it's getting there. So what we're missing from this, if we go ahead and change this signature, I'm just going to put these side by side down here so we can just list them out. So we want the to-do item DbContext. We want the laters DbContext, right? And we'd also like to have the DB connection. Perfect. All right, now we can go ahead and do something like this. There, nice. And I don't mind that not being there. What I will do is I'm just going to do that as simpler. All right, cool. So once we're done all our work, and now we should have stuff ready for being processed. The first things first we want to do is make sure that the connection dot is open. I think it's state. Is it status? State is open. So if it's not open, we want to open it. Perfect. And we just need to import this. Nice. Now we can go ahead we can go and create ourselves a transaction. So using var tx equals new equals connection dot begin transaction. We want to change the isolation state. We want to say it is serializable. There we go. That'll do for now. That'll work for this use case. Your use case might require a different level of serialization, or sorry, a different isolation level. You pick the one that works for you best. This will work for this use case. I do not mind the code it's probably stipulating here. So what do we have here? It hasn't actually attached the transaction, has it, to the two, which is a bit unfortunate, because what we would like to do is do something like this. We want to create the to-do DbContext, Why is the DbContext for the to-do? Is it just called DbContext? Let's rename that to to-do. DbContext. There we go. That's a bit more consistent. So now we can do to-do DbContext there. That's better. And then we do latest DbContext. Now we can do to-do async, and then we can do latest async. Yes. Then we'll hopefully commit. Oh, voila. That's fine. That should work. Cool. I want to take this class that we just created, and we're going to go ahead and create this. Oh, so we need to register this. Where do we register this? Where do we register this? We register it here, don't we? So app dot, and then it's middleware, use middleware. Perfect. Oh, I need to have the dangle brackets. Nice. Okay. The only thing we're missing is when we delete an item. So when we complete an item, we need to mark it for deletion. We need to schedule a job to delete it. How do we do that? That's a great question. I'm glad someone asked. Let's see what the API looks like. We have got this guy here. We've got a string, and we've got a to-do context. But we also have an ISH. Oh, I'm missing a comma. ISH schedule. All right. I'm not sure if it's got iSchedule. It's got iSchedule. Just make sure it's saying the right one. It should be under with laters. It's not giving me that until I put the word SCH. Schedule. There we go. So iSchedule. And that should become from laters. Perfect. All right. So if existing, I like how it's trying to say stuff here. That's almost correct, but not quite. I like how it's got latest job there. That's kind of nice. So first things first, what I like to do is var remove date, right? So we need to have a date we want to remove. So remove date time, right? And that is going to be date time dot now, UTC now dot add minutes, and we're going to just add 1 minute for now. We're going to wait for 1 whole minute, and then we're going to remove the actual task. That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. We can do that. Oh, what did it offer just then as the IntelliSense? So check this out. It's saying remove. It's kind of like thinking about the way it works, but it's not actually that. Let's go look at what we got here. Here we go. We want to do something for later. That's basically what we want. I like how it's got these little stars and it's recognizing this. This is kind of cool. So what do we require in this one? So we can basically put in a payload. And what's the other option? We can put in a payload, a date, time, and then we have some extra options. I like that. Let's go put that there for later. And we're going to have a new remove to do item. And that actually sounds about right. That's cool. Can I just take this guy and then just say, will it give it to me? Oh, it doesn't. It really doesn't. All right, let's just do public class remove item. It's just a .NET object. You don't need anything more. And then we're going to have a string of that. All right, let's see if that now is at a point where we have got the code up to a working state. So we go ahead and we say, hey, look, can we find the item? Can we modify the item? Is it completed? Can we then schedule it for later for removal? And we use these sort of like, we use .NET types to indicate what work we need to do. And that's saying we want to do some work for later. And then we got this work down here at the bottom saying this is what we're going to pass into the handler. But we haven't got a handler. That's what we're missing. We've got everything else but no handler. So how does that work? App, and then we do map handler, right? And then we can go ahead and say the handler is for remove. remove. There we go. To do item. All right. Now, this is very similar now to how minimal API works inside .NET. What we'll need to do then is we'll need to go and say we've got an async task. We want to pass in a bunch of types, a bunch of objects into this handler. The first one is the job context. And the job context is strongly typed to the remove item as well. Cool. And we can call that CTX. Oh, it really does like doing other items, doesn't it? CTX. Wait, get there. Nice. The other thing then is we want to go ahead and pass in the to-do context. All right, cool. Has this actually coded up the way we wanted it? So what we'd like to do is we want to make sure that we can find the item to remove it. We will find the item here. If the item is not null, then remove it. We don't actually have to return this. That doesn't have to be returned at all. No. As we have no code that requires a waiting, we'll just do wait and then task dot completed task. Perfect. Now it's saying that it doesn't know what this is. Is it just because we're missing an import? And I'm just confirming something here. So this is saying ctx.jobid. I don't think it actually has something. So let's just double check its payload. There we go. At the moment, it's just complaining that we have a null reference. This is being set by deserializing the object inside the framework, and this should not be null. Oh, I should just be able, for now, I'm going to go ahead and do that. That will disappear. We have ourselves now a fully working application, in theory. Okay, so what we need to do now is we need to save. And let's just do a .NET build, .NET, and then build, make sure everything is working. And it should all just go through. Nice. That there should now have got us to a point where we've configured laters and we're onto migrations. We have this now. This is good. We're on a roll. We have some commands that we can just copy paste because I will always forget this. So we need to set up our migration scripts. So we're just going to do the database migration script for the to-do item, and it should then start building us a folder over here somewhere. Perfect. All right, then we can actually apply that against the database. So we can actually apply that and see if it creates the single object that we need. I should be two. Let's go have a look. So we can go in here, we refresh here. Oh, it's just the to-do items. There we go. The other one isn't actually a DbContext. It's an item we save as a job, isn't it? So the to-do item is being persisted. That's the domain object. That gets persisted. But this one is a job. And that's going to be persisted inside the jobs. And we'll see that happen in a second. So in here, we need to provide just a little bit more information. So we need to provide the builder a migration for this. Oh, cool. I think it's actually done it for us. All right. We need to go ahead now, tell Entity Framework using this assembly. This is where we want to store the migration for laters. So we've got the laters context, and we want to initialize script for laters and see how that works. Let's go ahead and run this command. It should go ahead and provide us a migration. Perfect. And then we want to apply this to the database. And once we've done this, our database should now have not just the application to do, but it should also have 3 extra tables. For the cron jobs, the jobs, and the leaders. Oh, this sounds good. All right, this means our application is ready to roll. It's just going to do a clear again, .NET. I'm going to say run. Okay, we are now up and running. It says that we are running on 5056, but what we should be able to do is we should be able to go into, let's close off this and this and this. I'm going to open up this guy, If we go ahead and run this request, we get nothing. If we run this request, we get 1, 2, 3, and again, a list of them. We're going to set this to this one, and then we run that one more time, and it should say complete equals true. If we go into the database and we go into jobs, you'll be able to see we have ourselves a job. That's the job itself. You can see when it's going to run, and if we're quick enough, we can have a look at the to-do items. The to-do items there hasn't yet been processed. We'll wait for a minute or so. I'll time warp this into when it's ready. Okay, so now we just jumped into the time warp area. You can now see that without doing anything, the job was processed. And as the job has been processed, you go to jobs there. The job has been processed, it's been removed from the database as being successful. And when it was done doing that, it's going to head and remove the item. We're going to go over to the HTTP and we're going to run that. And you can see now this is all empty. So we removed the item and that's been fully processed. That there gives you migrations and running. What we can do just to add the extra dime onto this, we can, if you want to, step through this. We can put it in the debug mode and we can do the exact same. We need to go to HTTP requests. The first request gives us nothing, the second request gives us an object, and the third request removes the object as it completes the object. Again, we're going to go ahead and check the database. You'll see that we have a job lined up. So the job is all lined up. So 11 minutes past 9, and we move forward to the to-do. We have the to-do item here. And all we're waiting for now is when we go back to this part, we're just going to wait for it to go and execute against this guy here. Okay, so we've now kicked into the job. You can see we've hit the breakpoint. The job handler has come in. It's injected ourselves the context object. You can see in here we've got the job ID, the payload, the actual object that we're referring to, which has the context in which this should run under. So you can see the ID is set to 1, 2, 3 on the remove today item. And that gives us just enough information to apply the right logic. We have the dependencies injected to actually go ahead and do what we need to do. So we find the item, which then gives us the item for removal. And we remove that and mark it as complete. If I just step into this and the rest is all done. And if we go to the database, we can go and refresh the item. That's now gone and the job has now been processed. That is a demonstration of Laters, a small .NET scheduling framework I've written. I really hope that you all enjoyed it. And if you have any information that you want to share or any feedback you want to give, feel free to contact me via the repos issues. All right, thank you so much for your time. This was Laters. I really hope you liked it, and I'll catch you all later. Bye-bye.